My twin sister stole my fiancé, then came back begging for my help. My husband betrayed me on our engagement day, and the mistress is my own sister. My family sided with them. So, hi, my name is Sarah, and I need to tell you a story that completely changed my life. It's hard to talk about this, but it's been a few years now, and I think I've finally managed to process everything that happened. Sometimes I still can't believe all of this really happened to me. It all started on my college graduation day. 4 years studying computer science were finally coming to an end, and I was radiant. My parents had rented an elegant hall in the city center with decoration in gold and white tones, flowers everywhere, and a dessert table that looked like it came out of a magazine. It was everything I had always dreamed of to celebrate this achievement. Marcus, my boyfriend of 4 years, looked handsome in the navy blue suit we bought together the week before. He held my hand as we greeted the guests, whispering jokes in my ear that made me laugh, even in the most formal moments. We were planning to move to Seattle right after graduation. He had gotten an offer at a tech startup, and I had some interviews scheduled at companies in the region. "I can't wait to start our life together," he said, kissing my face as we posed for photos with my family. My twin sister, Emma, was beside me, stunning as always, in the red dress she had chosen, especially for the occasion. She always had this gift of drawing attention wherever she went. The party was perfect. My college classmates were there, professors who had marked me during the course, childhood friends, relatives who came from far away just to congratulate me. I felt on top of the world, surrounded by love, and with a bright future ahead. Around 9 at night, I realized I had forgotten my diploma in the car. It was silly, I know, but I wanted to have it with me for the final photos of the night. "I'm just going to get the diploma. I'll be right back," I told Marcus, who was talking to my father about baseball. "Want me to go with you?" he asked, but I shook my head. "It's 2 minutes. Stay here enjoying the party." I left the hall and walked to the parking lot. The cool night air was comforting after hours in the closed and heated environment. I got the diploma from the back seat of my car, briefly admired the document that represented so much effort, and returned to the hall with a smile on my face. But when I entered, something intrigued me. I started looking for Marcus among the guests and couldn't find him. I asked some friends, but nobody knew where he was. Then I thought of Emma. She had also disappeared. This was strange because my sister was always the center of attention at any party, and her absence was noticeable. I started to worry maybe they had gone out to talk about something. Emma and Marcus always got along well. She even helped me choose his birthday present last year. But even so, I felt uncomfortable with their simultaneous disappearance. That's when my cousin Jess approached me. She seemed hesitant, as if she didn't know whether she should say something. "Sarah, are you looking for Marcus and Emma?" she asked, avoiding my gaze. "Yes, did you see them?" Jess took a deep breath. I think I saw them leaving together to the parking lot about 15 minutes ago. I thought it was some family thing, but my heart raced. But what? They seemed a bit too intimate. When you feel there's something strange in the air. I didn't want to believe what I was hearing, but something inside me knew I needed to check. I thanked Jess and left the hall again, this time with a tightness in my chest that I couldn't explain. The parking lot was poorly lit with only a few light posts scattered among the cars. I walked slowly, trying not to make noise, following an intuition that I prayed was wrong. That's when I heard low laughter coming from behind a white van parked in the back. I approached cautiously, and what I saw changed my life forever. Marcus and Emma were embracing, kissing with an intensity that made me feel instant nausea. It wasn't a kiss between in-laws. It wasn't a kiss between friends. It was the kind of kiss he used to give me when we were alone, full of passion and desire. His hands were on her face, and she held his tie as if she wanted to pull him closer. I hid behind a car, trying to process what I was seeing. My mind refused to accept reality. It was my twin sister. My twin sister kissing my boyfriend. The man I planned to marry, with whom I dreamed of building a family. "I can't stand pretending anymore," I heard Marcus whisper to her. "For years pretending it was you I wanted when all the time." "I know," Emma replied, caressing his face. "I can't stand it anymore either. She'll never understand what we have." I felt as if someone had pulled the ground out from under my feet. For years of my life based on a lie. For years believing I was loved when in reality, I was just an obstacle between them. I couldn't stay there another second. I ran from the parking lot with tears in my eyes, passing by the guests of my own graduation party as if I were a stranger. I grabbed my purse from the main table and left the hall without looking back. I drove aimlessly through the city streets, crying so hard I could barely see the road. I stopped at the first motel I found, a simple place on the outskirts, and paid for a room for one night. I needed to be alone, away from everything and everyone to try to understand what I had just discovered. Sitting on the hard bed of that small and poorly lit room, still wearing my graduation dress, I started receiving the messages. First from Marcus, then from Emma, as if they had planned to destroy what was left of my heart. Marcus' message was direct and cruel. Sarah, I know you saw us. I didn't want it to be like this, but I can't pretend anymore. These 4 years were an attempt to forget what I feel for Emma, but it didn't work. She's who I really love. Sorry for wasting your time. I read and reread those words, each one like a stab. Wasted my time. 4 years of my life were just wasted time to him. Emma's message arrived a few minutes later. Sister, I know this is hard to understand, but what I feel for Marcus is something I can't control. Love happens. It's not something we choose. I hope that one day you can forgive us and accept our happiness. I threw the phone at the wall with such force that the screen cracked. How dare she talk about love and happiness? How dare she ask for my forgiveness after destroying my life this way? I spent the entire night awake in that motel room, alternating between compulsive crying and an emptiness that seemed to consume my soul. I picked up the broken phone and, even with the cracked screen, managed to read other messages that arrived during the early morning. My mother had written, Sarah, where are you? Everyone is worried. You just disappeared from your own party. And then Marcus told us what happened. Dear, these life things are complicated. Come home so we can talk. My father also sent a message. Daughter, I know it's difficult, but you need to be mature about this situation. Marcus and Emma are truly in love. It's nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. These words echoed in my mind like a slap. My own father was defending my sisters and my boyfriend's betrayal as if it were something natural, inevitable. But the message that hurt me the most arrived early in the morning from Emma. Sarah, I know you must be angry, but you need to understand that we tried to resist this for years. We tried to ignore what we felt for each other. Marcus dated you because he thought that way he could forget what he feels for me. I encouraged your relationship for the same reason, but we couldn't fight against true love anymore. I hope you'll be the sister you've always been and support us in this moment. I read that message several times, trying to absorb the casual cruelty of her words. She was asking me to support them. After destroying my life, they wanted my blessing. I stayed in that motel for 3 days, living on delivery and trying to piece together the fragments of my sanity. It was during this forced solitude that I began to remember situations from the past that now made much more sense. We were twins, but we were always treated differently by the family. Emma was always the extroverted one, the charismatic one, the one everyone instantly adored. I was the responsible one, the studious one, the one who had her head in the right place. It seemed like a compliment, but now I realized it was just a polite way of saying I was the boring one in the family. I remembered the high school prom. I had saved money from my part-time job for months to buy a royal blue dress I saw in a shop window. It was perfect. It made me feel beautiful and confident. But in prom week, Emma decided she also wanted a blue dress. Sarah, you don't mind if I wear a blue dress too, do you? She said as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I saw a beautiful one at the same store. When I tried to explain that I had already chosen blue, that it would be strange for us to go matching, my mother intervened. What nonsense, girls? You're twins. It'll look beautiful with you matching. But Emma didn't buy just any blue dress. She bought exactly the same model as mine, just in an even more vibrant shade of blue. On prom day, when we came down together, all the comments were about how stunning Emma looked. My dress, which I loved so much, became just a faded copy of hers. Emma looks radiant today, commented my aunt. And you look pretty, too, Sarah, she added almost as a courtesy reminder. This dynamic repeated throughout our adolescence. Emma borrowed my clothes without asking, and somehow they looked better on her. She copied my hairstyles, but with a special touch that made them unique. When I developed an interest in photography, Emma also wanted to learn, and soon she was being praised for her natural artistic perspective. The most painful thing was that nobody seemed to notice this pattern. To our family, Emma wasn't copying or competing with me. She was just being herself, spontaneous and talented. And me, I was being dramatic when it bothered me, jealous when I protested. Now, lying on that motel bed, I finally understood. Marcus had never really been mine. From the beginning, he was interested in Emma. But since she was dating someone else at the time, he settled for me. I was the consolation prize, the available substitute. I remembered how they behaved together during these 4 years. The intimate laughter when they told jokes that only they understood. The way Marcus always asked about Emma when she couldn't come to our dates, how he got excited when she decided to join us at the movies or dinners. Your sister is very funny, he always said. You're so different, but in complimentary ways. I interpreted this as a compliment to our family bond. Now I realized it was a comparison, and I always came out losing. There were also the moments when Emma appeared by surprise at our dates. I hope I'm not disturbing the loving couple, she said with that smile that I always thought was affectionate, but now recognized as calculated. Marcus never minded. On the contrary, he seemed more excited when she was present. And the family parties where Marcus paid more attention to Emma than to me. He always justified himself saying he wanted to make a good impression on my family, especially on my twin sister since we were so close. I thought this was mature and thoughtful of him. What an idiot I was. All those moments when I felt uncomfortable, but forced myself to ignore my instincts because I didn't want to seem paranoid or jealous. All the times Emma made comments about Marcus that were too intimate, but that I justified as family closeness. All the occasions when Marcus can-led our last-minute plans because Emma needed help with something. The last straw of my seclusion at the motel was when my best friend from college, Lisa, called me. "Sarah, where are you? Your mother called me asking if I knew where you were. Everyone is worried." "I'm fine." I lied. I just needed some time to process some things. Look, I didn't want to be the person to tell you this, but Emma posted a photo on Instagram yesterday. Her and Marcus together with the caption, "Finally free to love." Sarah, I'm so sorry. Finally free to love. Less than a week after destroying my life, they were already publicly celebrating their romance. As if I had never existed. As if the 4 years I lived with Marcus were just an inconvenient obstacle that had finally been removed. At that moment, I made a decision. I couldn't hide forever. I needed to go home, face reality, and decide what to do with the rest of my life. But one thing I knew for sure, I would never again be the naive Sarah who accepted being treated as a second option. When I finally had the courage to return home on the 3rd day after the discovery, I found a scene I could never have imagined. I entered through the front door using my key, and what I saw in the living room made me question if I wasn't having a nightmare. Marcus was sitting on our family couch, the same couch where we watched movies together on Sundays, with his arm around Emma. My parents were in the armchairs in front, smiling and talking animatedly with a couple. On the coffee table, there was an open champagne bottle and used glasses. "Sarah," my mother exclaimed when she saw me standing at the entrance of the room. "Good thing you're back." We were celebrating the news. Celebrating the news? The words came out of her mouth so naturally that for a moment I thought I was delirious. "What news?" I asked, although I already knew the answer. Emma got up, still holding hand with Marcus, and came towards me with a radiant smile. "Sister, I know you're upset, but now that you had time to process everything, can we talk like adults?" "Process everything?" I repeated, looking at my family's expectant faces. "Emma, you betrayed your own sister with my boyfriend of 4 years at my graduation party." "Sarah, don't be dramatic." My father intervened. "Nobody betrayed anybody. These heart matters happen. What's important is that Marcus and Emma are happy together." I turned to him, incredulous. "Dad, they were kissing in secret in the parking lot while I was being congratulated for graduation inside." "Dear," my mother got up and came to me, speaking in that condescending tone I knew from childhood. "I know it's difficult when we lose someone we love, but you need to think about your sister's well-being, too." Emma and Marcus tried to resist what they felt out of respect for you, but true love always wins. True love. I was starting to feel hysterical. "Mom, he dated me for 4 years. We were planning to move together." Marcus finally spoke, still sitting on the couch as if he owned the house. "Sarah, I'm sorry things happen this way. I really tried to love you the way you deserved, but I couldn't fight against what I feel for Emma. It would be worse to lie to you for the rest of my life." The casual way he talked about trying to love me was like a punch to the stomach. 4 years of my life summarized as a failed attempt to love the wrong person. "You have to understand." Emma approached closer, putting her hand on my arm. "That this is very difficult for us, too. Do you think it was easy to hide our feelings for so long? Pretending we were just in-laws when what we felt was much deeper." I pulled away from her touch, as if it were poisonous. "You pretended to be in-laws because you were in-laws." "Emma, I'm your twin sister, and you'll continue being my sister," she said now with tears in her eyes. "Sarah, I need you to support me in this. You've always been my best friend, my other half. I can't lose you, too." "Too?" I laughed without humor. "What exactly did you lose, Emma? Because from what I see, you got everything you wanted." That's when my father lost his patience. "Enough, Sarah. You're being selfish and immature. Your sister found the love of her life, and you should be happy for her instead of making all this drama." "Drama?" I turned to him, feeling a rage I never knew I was capable of feeling. "Dad, I discovered at my graduation party that my boyfriend was in love with my sister for 4 years. How is this drama on my part? Because you're turning this into something about you." My mother replied, "Sarah, dear, you've always been jealous of Emma. Since childhood, whenever she stood out in something, you got this attitude. Jealous of Emma. Always jealous of Emma. As if all the moments of my life when I felt displaced and diminished were just products of my sick envy." "You know what?" I said, looking at each of them. "You're right. I am selfish and immature. How dare I be bothered by the fact that my twin sister stole my boyfriend and my family is celebrating it with champagne." "Nobody stole anything," Emma said now, crying openly. "Sarah, You can't control people's feelings. Marcus was never really yours if he always loved someone else. That phrase was the limit. Seeing my twin sister crying crocodile tears, telling me that the man with whom I had shared for years of my life had never been mine, while my parents nodded, agreeing with her. "You're right, Emma," I said with a calm that surprised me. "He was never mine. And you know what else? You never were either." The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus stopped pretending discomfort and just stared at me. Emma stopped crying. My parents looked at each other. "Sarah, don't talk like that." My mother tried. "Why not, Mom? It's the truth. You made it very clear where your priorities are." Emma has always been the favorite daughter, the little princess who can't be contradicted. And now, when she decides she wants her sister's boyfriend, you not only allow it, but celebrate. I went up to my room, which was technically still my room until I moved to Seattle, a plan that was now obviously cancelled. I started packing methodically, putting only the essentials in 2 large suitcases. Emma appeared at the bedroom door half an hour later. "Sarah, stop this. You can't just leave." "Yes, I can," I replied without looking at her, continuing to fold my clothes. "In fact, it's exactly what I'm going to do." "And where are you going? You don't have money. You don't have a job. You don't have anything planned." "I'll manage. I always have." "Sarah, please." She sat on my bed, watching me pack. "I know you're hurt, but you can't throw our family away because of a fight." I stopped what I was doing and finally looked at her. "A fight, Emma? You think this is a fight between sisters? You destroyed my life. Our family chose your side, and you call this a fight. I didn't destroy your life. You're young. You'll find someone else. You'll be happy again. But I'll never find another Marcus. This is the love of my life." The cruel sincerity in her words hit me harder than any scream could have. She really believed what she was saying. For Emma, my pain was temporary and insignificant compared to her great love. "You're right," I said, closing the last suitcase. "You'll never find another Marcus. I hope you're very happy together." I went downstairs with my 2 suitcases. My parents were waiting in the living room. Marcus had left. "Sarah, you're exaggerating." My father tried one last time. "Nobody's kicking you out of the house. You're not kicking me out, but you made it very clear that I'm not welcome here if I don't accept the situation, so I'm making it easier for everyone." I took my car and drove to a more decent motel than the first one, where I paid for a week while looking for an apartment to rent. In the following days, I blocked all my family's and Marcus numbers on social media and phone. 2 weeks later, an elegant invitation with golden edges arrived in the mail. It was for Emma and Marcus' civil wedding scheduled for a month later. They hadn't wasted time. On the back of the invitation, a handwritten message from Emma. "Sister, even with our disagreements, you'll always be my family. I hope you're present on the most important day of my life." I tore the invitation into small pieces and threw it in the trash. Then I sat on the motel bed and cried for the last time for everything I had lost. Not just Marcus, not just Emma, but the whole family I thought I had. The first months after moving to a small 1-bedroom apartment were the hardest of my life. I woke up every morning with that feeling of emptiness in my chest, as if someone had torn out an essential part of me. But there was one thing Emma didn't know about me. I had always been stronger than I appeared. I got a job at a software development company downtown. It wasn't the dream job, but it paid the bills and kept me busy during the day. My coworkers, especially Jake and Amanda, noticed I was going through a difficult time and gradually included me in their social circles. "Sarah, are you coming with us to happy hour today?" Amanda asked on a Friday, about 2 months after I started working there. I was going to refuse automatically, as I always did, but something made me accept. Maybe it was the tiredness of spending every night alone in the apartment, mentally reviewing everything that had happened. It was at this happy hour that I met people who would become my true friends. Jake, who was a senior developer and helped me adapt to the technologies the company used. Amanda, who worked in marketing and had a sense of humor that could make me laugh even on the hardest days. Mike from the design department, who shared my passion for photography. They never asked directly about my family or why I always got tense when we talked about relationships. They just welcomed me as I was, a person who was clearly rebuilding her life from scratch. "You have talent for this," Jake commented one day, observing code I had written to optimize a process that was slowing down our system. "Have you ever thought about specializing in optimization algorithms?" I started studying in my spare time, taking online courses, reading technical books, practicing on personal projects. It was as if all the energy I used to direct towards maintaining toxic relationships could now be channeled into my professional growth. 6 months after starting at the company, I received my first promotion. After a year, I was invited to lead an important project. In 2 years, I was earning more than I had ever imagined possible and had moved to a beautiful apartment in Portland. After getting an irrefusable offer from a tech company, my new friends celebrated every achievement with me. When I signed the contract in Portland, Amanda organized a farewell party at her apartment. "We're going to miss you," she said, hugging me. "But we're very proud of you. Look how much you've grown since you arrived here." It was true. I had become a completely different person, more confident, more determined, more aware of my own value. I had discovered that I could trust my instincts, that my ideas were valuable, that I didn't need anyone's approval to be happy. In Portland, my professional life took off for real. I worked at a startup that developed innovative solutions for complex logistics problems. My boss, David, recognized my potential from day one. "Sarah, you have an exceptional analytical mind," he said during my 6-month evaluation. "Have you ever thought about developing your own solutions? We have a program here that supports employees who want to become entrepreneurs." That's how I started working on my own idea, an algorithm that optimized delivery routes to reduce costs and environmental impact. I spent nights and weekends developing prototypes, testing theories, refining code. My social life also flourished. I met interesting people through tech meetups, made solid friendships with coworkers, and even started dating casually. Nothing serious. Nothing that made me feel too vulnerable, but enough to realize I was capable of trusting other people again. During these 3 years, my family was just a distant memory. I had blocked all of them on social media, changed my phone number, and created a new life where they simply didn't exist. It was as if Sarah, the naive twin sister and consolation prize, had died at that graduation party, and a new person had been born from the ashes. I wondered sometimes how they were doing, especially during holidays or on significant dates. But I always managed to push those thoughts away. They had made their choice, and I had made mine. That's when the email arrived that would change everything again. It was a Tuesday morning, 3 years and 2 months after the betrayal. I was in my Portland apartment having coffee while checking my emails before going to work when I saw a message from an address I didn't immediately recognize. maryelopes2024@gmail.com. I opened the email and almost dropped my coffee cup when I saw the signature with love and longing. "Mom, my mother had created a new email to be able to contact me. My dear Sarah," the message began. "I know you don't want to talk to us and I understand your anger, but I need to tell you something very important. We're going through a very difficult situation here at home, and you're the only person who can help us." My first instinct was to delete the email without reading the rest. But something made me continue. "Emma and Marcus are having very serious financial problems. They made some bad investments in cryptocurrencies last year following the advice of a specialist they met and lost all their savings. Not just their savings, but also the money your father and I lent them to start a business." I laughed involuntarily. Emma and Marcus, who had always been so smart, so superior, had fallen for a cryptocurrency scam. Now they owe more than $200,000 to very dangerous people. "Sarah, they're receiving threats. We had to sell our house to try to help, but it still wasn't enough. We're living in a small apartment, and we don't know what to do anymore. $200,000. Our family never had that kind of money. My parents had always been middle class, honest workers who could pay the bills and take modest vacations a year. The idea that they had lost even the family house shocked me more than I expected. I know we don't have the right to ask for anything after what happened, but Sarah, you're our daughter, and Emma is your sister. We found out through LinkedIn that you're doing very well professionally, that you have a good position at an important company. Could you lend us the money? I promise we'll pay it back, even if it takes years." Found out through LinkedIn. They had tracked me through professional social media, discovering where I worked, how much I earned, how my life was going. Emma cries every day. She knows she was wrong, knows she hurt you, but she's desperate. Marcus is also destroyed. They want to apologize personally, want to better explain what happened, want us to be a family again. The email ended with an emotional appeal. "Sarah, I know you have a good heart. You've always been the most generous, most understanding daughter. Please help us. We don't know who else to turn to." I read the email 3 times, feeling a mixture of emotions I couldn't completely process. There was a part of me that felt sorry for them, especially my parents, who had apparently lost everything trying to save Emma and Marcus. But there was a bigger part that felt bitter satisfaction knowing that consequences had finally arrived for them. $200,000. Ironically, it was an amount I could lend without breaking my financial stability. My investments and savings had grown substantially in recent years, and my startup was starting to generate real profit. But lending that money would mean reopening a door I had closed with great effort. It would mean going back to being part of a toxic family dynamic where Emma was always the victim who needed to be saved. And I was always responsible for solving the problems. I closed the laptop without responding and went to work. Throughout the day, I couldn't concentrate properly. The email kept echoing in my mind. For the first time in 3 years, my family had remembered I existed, and it was because they needed money. That night, I called Amanda, who continued being one of my best friends, even living in different cities. "Amanda, I need to talk to someone about a complicated situation," I said as soon as she answered. "Of course, tell me." I told the whole story about Emma and Marcus, about the betrayal, about how my family had reacted, and now about my mother's desperate email. Sarah, Amanda said after a long silence, you don't owe anything to these people. They abandoned you in your most difficult moment, and now they want you to solve their problems. I know, I sighed. But they're my parents, Amanda. They lost their house. They lost their house because they chose to financially support a daughter who had betrayed the other. Sarah, if you lend this money, you'll never get rid of them. They'll always come back when they need something. She was right, and deep down I knew it. But there was a part of me that felt guilty for having cut contact completely, for never having tried to understand their side of the story. I spent the whole night awake thinking about what to do. The next morning, I made my decision. I replied to my mother's email with a short and direct message. I can't help financially. I hope you find a solution to the situation. Sarah, I thought that would be the end of the matter. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I was in my office reviewing codes when the receptionist called me. Sarah, there are 2 people downstairs saying they're your sister and brother-in-law. They insist they need to talk to you urgently. My blood froze. Emma and Marcus had discovered where I worked and traveled from another city to Portland to confront me personally. Tell them I'm in a meeting and can't see them, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. I already said that, but they said they'll wait as long as necessary. The girl is crying a lot. Of course, Emma was crying. It was her favorite strategy when things didn't go her way. I spent 2 hours trying to work normally, but it was impossible to concentrate knowing they were in the lobby of my building. Finally, I decided I needed to resolve this situation once and for all. I went down to the ground floor and found them sitting in the leather armchairs in the lobby. Emma was really crying with red and swollen eyes, wearing clothes that seemed to have seen better days. Marcus was beside her with a poorly trimmed beard and a desperate expression I had never seen before.
Sarah.
Emma got up quickly when she saw me. Thank God.
We need to talk to you.
We have nothing to talk about, I replied, keeping my distance. How did you find out where I work, Sarah? Please, Marcus approached. Just 5 minutes. It's about life or death. Life or death. I repeated. How dramatic. It's not drama. Emma shouted, making some people in the lobby look at us. Sarah, they said they're going to hurt us if we don't pay by Friday. Today is Tuesday. We have nowhere to run. The desperation in her voice seemed genuine, but I had learned not to trust my sister's emotional performances. And you think that's my problem? I asked. You're my sister, Emma said, tears streaming down her face.
We've always been a family.
You can't just abandon us when we need you most. The irony of her words made me laugh without humor. Emma, you abandoned me first at my graduation party, remember? And when I tried to talk about it, my own parents called me immature and selfish. We know we were wrong. Marcus spoke for the first time. Sarah, I know what we did was terrible, but please don't let our past mistakes cause something irreversible now. Irreversible like destroying your girlfriend's 4-year relationship with your own twin sister? I replied. That kind of irreversible? They followed me to the parking lot when I left the building at the end of the day. I tried to ignore them, but they kept talking, begging, trying to convince me to help them. Sarah, wait. Emma ran after me when I started walking towards my car. Please, just listen to what we have to say. I have nothing to listen to, I replied, opening the car door. That's when Marcus did something I never expected from him. He put his hand on my car door, preventing me from closing it. Marcus, take your hand off the door, I said, trying to stay calm. Not until you listen to us, he replied with an intensity in his eyes that made me uncomfortable. Take your hand off the door now, I repeated more firmly. Sarah, you don't understand. Emma approached from the other side of the car. These people are dangerous. They said if we don't pay, they'll do terrible things, and we have nobody else to turn to. That's not my problem, I replied, trying to pull the door, but Marcus held it firmly in place. It is your problem, Marcus exploded. You're part of this family, whether you like it or not. And families help each other. Family? I laughed bitterly. Where was my family when I needed support? Where was my family when my world collapsed? We were in love. Emma shouted. You can't blame us forever for falling in love. No, Emma. You were being selfish and cruel. And now you're being selfish and cruel again, pressuring me and following me to my workplace. Marcus still hadn't let go of the car door. And Emma was clearly panicking. They started talking at the same time, pressuring me from both sides, their voices getting louder and more desperate. Sarah, you have to help us. It's just a loan. You can charge us interest. We're your family. You can't let us die. That's when I realized the situation was getting out of control. Marcus was getting increasingly aggressive and Emma was hysterical. I started to feel really threatened. Marcus, let go of my car door now or I'll call security, I warned. Call them then, he shouted back. We're not leaving here until you agree to help us. That's when I remembered the discreet panic button that all employees of our company had received after some security incidents in the neighborhood. I pressed the device that was in my purse. In less than 3 minutes, 2 security guards from the building appeared in the parking lot, quickly followed by a police car that was patrolling the area. "Is there a problem here?" asked one of the officers, observing Marcus still holding my door and Emma crying hysterically. "These people are intimidating me and preventing me from leaving the parking lot," I explained, trying to keep my voice calm. "Sarah, no," Emma begged. "We're family. Tell them we're family." "Sir, let go of the vehicle door," the officer ordered Marcus. Marcus finally let go of the door, but kept talking. "Officer, this is my sister-in-law. We're just trying to talk to her about a family situation. Do you want them removed from the property?" the officer asked me. I looked at Emma and Marcus. My twin sister looked like a completely different person from the confident and radiant woman who had stolen my boyfriend 3 years ago. Marcus, who had always been so charming and self-assured, now seemed desperate and almost pathetic. A very small part of me felt sorry for them, but a much larger part remembered how alone and betrayed I felt when I most needed family support. "Yes," I replied. "I want them removed, and I want a restraining order against both of them." "Sarah, no," Emma screamed as the officers approached her. "You're my sister. You can't do this to us." But I could, and I did. While they were escorted off the property, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. There was no satisfaction in that moment, just confirmation that I had made the right decision 3 years ago when I cut contact with them. That night, I called a lawyer and